Tesla shares right around the flat line here today after the company's market cap fell below $1 trillion earlier this week. Now, this is the latest losing streak that we have seen, erasing nearly all of Tesla's post-election gains. We're looking at even over the last 5 days, the stock has been under a decent amount of pressure over the year to date. You're looking at losses of just about 28%. Joining us now to give a bit more context on what's behind this change potentially here, at least sentiment-wise for investors, we want to bring in Craig Irwin. He's a Roth Capital Partners Senior Research Analyst. Craig, talk to me about some of the selling action that we have seen. Obviously, it comes after that massive run-up, so we have to put that in context. But what's your big takeaway from some of that pressure?
So there was a little bit of euphoria in there, right, with the election. Politics played a big role in the run-up, and they're playing a role in the run-down, right? Investors would come back to more fundamentals. The quarter itself, when people looked at the quarter, was taken very positively because of progress on the robotaxi and the next generation platform they're launching. But the fundamentals in there were positive growth versus 20 to 30%. That's a big miss. And then obviously the margins were disappointing for many out there, although we had pointed to the impact of battery materials really helping them in the upside they saw in the third quarter last year. So, it's just it's very, very volatile because of its status more or less as a meme stock. It's a retail darling, and I think as people start to refocus on the new platform and the launch of the cyber taxi, we could start to see some positive action. And then my traders, my technical analysts are pointing to the fact that it's come back, it's retrenched to its Fibonacci level. Usually those are pretty attractive levels to buy a stock that trades a lot on fundamentals. So we're bullish here. We think there's good news coming. And people are getting upset about January numbers. It's really the March numbers that matter for sales. Most of their sales are really in the third month of the quarter.
Craig, I'm going to mirror something that my colleague Julie Hyman said to me today that I thought was brilliant. If a stock is a retail darling and it starts to lose favor with the retail investors, isn't that a risk to the stock long term? And I'm specifically referring to Elon Musk's political leanings as a headwind to the stock.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I cover emerging growth companies, and I've covered them for 25 years, so I watch this very closely. Musk is up to big things. He's obviously having a lot of fun working to try and make a difference for the entire American economy, for everybody in the country, not just producing great vehicles that sort of transform the outlook for transportation, which is what he's done with Tesla. So, there are people that are happy and people that are unhappy there. If he's successful, the size of this halo that he's been wearing for the last 15, 20 years will increase by an order of magnitude. So we've all got to hope he's successful because it'll help bring down taxes, help improve growth, do some really amazing things for the economy. There's always short-term winners and losers when there are changes made. So, how does this impact him long term? I'm gonna bet in the crowd that this is actually something that does improve his status and improve his overall affection from the public and the retail investors. And let's hope, because it'll benefit all of us.
That's interesting in the context, too, of some news this week. The American Federation of Teachers is pressuring asset managers to divest from Tesla. That's about 2 million investors with $4 trillion in assets. If they are successful and if that becomes a trend, how would that not put pressure on the stock?
Well, think about it. I mean, there's a big conversation in D.C. about shutting down the Department of Education. I mean, we're like 40th in education worldwide, and we haven't improved in the last several decades, outspending everybody by massive margins. So, I love teachers. I've had some wonderful teachers.
I'm less speaking about the teachers specifically and more just about investors pulling their money from Tesla. Like if that becomes a trend.
There will be investors come in. There will be investors come out. People will try and exert their political muscle. And there's going to be a tug of war. There's definitely going to be a tug of war. So, if you see some of the pension funds pull out, you'll see others come in. And that's been, that's the way this works over time. There's buyers and sellers that make a market. And, if you're kind of on the losing end of some of these moves that are largely political, I can imagine there's going to be a lot of, contention, right? People will be aggressively looking to take action for their own best interest. And I'm not saying they shouldn't do that. I'm just saying on balance, I think, let's all pray and hope that he's very successful in what he's aiming to do, because it'll really impact the broader economy and obviously lives of everyday Americans.
Craig, how big of a distraction is Musk's role in the administration to you?
Distraction to me, for Tesla, not much. For him to Tesla, maybe it's a good thing, because
Why?
the people, like, he has some very, very good people working for him, and he's known for being difficult to work for, right? I like to call him unreasonable, as in being someone that doesn't take a no. You get something wrong, you come back and say, this is what I'm trying next. Other people that he's fired do not have nearly as pleasant words. So giving competent people a little bit more leash to work with and a big mission sometimes actually makes them more successful. So, at Tesla, maybe it's improved focus. We don't really know. There are some major transitions going on in the EV world right now with, obviously swings in demand that started during the Biden administration, and then the price adjustments, the subsidies, the ZEV credits, all these other good things going through substantial, evolution in the market, positive evolution for the long term. So maybe it's a good thing for Tesla that he's off doing bigger things that he's having fun with. I think it's quite probably the case.
Craig, I love that take, because that's not really one that we get too often. And I guess my follow-up question then to you, two parts, is one, who are the biggest drivers then, just in terms of the direction at Tesla without Elon there on a day-to-day basis? And then two, does that at all shift the strategy or direction or initially what you saw in terms of Tesla's growth here over the next several quarters or years?
So I don't have a good dialogue with people internal at Tesla, right? There's compliance issues around that, and I've been bearish and I've been bullish, and I work independently. So I talk to a lot of former employees. One of the three largest buyers of batteries in the world. I won't, if I get more specific, right? We know who it is. It's a good friend of mine. Called me yesterday. I talk to a lot of different people that are involved, right? And what I'm hearing is positive, right? This new vehicle platform is something I've been asking for since 2019 when they punted, right? They've also started to open the stores in India, finally, right? That should have been done years ago. The biggest strategic fumbles at the company in the last, since its founding, frankly. We're not going into India and not launching the mini car. And yeah, the mini car would have been margin dilutive, but it would put them in a very different place today. So they're doing the right things. And speaking of the right thing, right, one of the things you flagged ahead of this was Mons, right? Mons is the crown jewel of stacking equipment for the battery industry. They've had the best quality equipment globally for decades if you want to make batteries. And lo and behold, pricing out of China, they've gone the same way as most of the other PV equipment suppliers out of Germany did, right? And now what is Musk doing? He's doing the right thing for Germany, the right thing for the industry by propping it up, by investing and supporting the jobs in Germany, the continuity of the intellectual economy around, a very important capability that is strategic. And the governments might have got there late, but Musk is doing the right thing. So, if that's what he's doing across his businesses and if that's what he's doing in government, that size of that halo is only going to get bigger. And, the long run for Tesla could be very, very exciting.
All right, Craig, always great to get your insight and talk to you. Thanks so much for joining us here this morning. And Tesla shares rebounding a bit today. You're looking at gains of just about 0.3%. Well,